Something that really irritates me is because I'm a female. A lot of people come in and say they're struggling, mainly men. They're struggling.
But they don't want to listen to what you have to say.
They don't want to listen to me. Where you get people saying, my logs have dust on them, or they're not all the same shape and all the same
Your
size.
logs have dust on them.
Yeah. So I think when I came in, it was also introducing the social media side of things, introducing a new website, and just kind of taking it that bit further, kind of marketing it a bit more. One of the storms happened and a tree fell down. This was about 40 years ago. And my dad just decided he would cut it up into firewood and kind of see whether there was a market for it. He actually had people coming back saying, do you have any more firewood that I can use and I can buy from you? So it kind of all started from there with the firewood industry, and that was 40 years ago.
So I won't try and guess what episode, but I'll definitely say we're on season 7, and I am very happy to have a brand new guest back, which is Georgia, as Georgia goes logging. That's correct,
that's
isn't
correct,
it?
Yeah.
Got it right. Fantastic. And you describe yourself as a lumberjill.
Yes, that's correct.
From what I can see on the profile, which I've found quite witty in my sad sense of humour. So what we tend to do is we like to get guests on, and I always love the obscure trades or crazy things that people do on social media as work, because I find it so fascinating. But I wanted to get you on because I've not seen anything like it that you do.
Yeah.
And I want to sort of give people a backstory as to how you got onto A, social media, and B, getting into sort of the trade that you did, because I feel like the amount of questions that we get from apprentices, from people looking for a change in career, how do I get into that? Or how do I do this? Or the people don't know where to start. So I always think giving people the option to sort of see these different trades, whether it's been a stonemason or a farrier or a thatch roofer, or like what you do with the logging stuff, is to give people a bit of an insight into those different trades that are out there for them to potentially go and do.
Yeah.
So if you would be so kind to take us back to sort of, not obviously I was 2 years old and I always dreamt that I'd grow up and work with big tools and heavy machinery and stuff like that. But just give us a backstory about you.
Yep.
Tell us sort of, from school, were you academic, whatever, and take us through that journey and try and give us a bit of insight, especially into the day-to-day sort of bits that you do for your work yourself.
Yeah. So I actually started way back. My granddad's a farmer. My dad kind of went into the farming industry with him, and then realised that actually money was kind of dwindling in that kind of industry, and they were kind of downgrading a bit as to what they were doing. My granddad was getting a bit older, and then one of the storms happened and a tree fell down. This was about 40 years ago, and my dad just decided he would cut it up into firewood and kind of see whether there was a market for it. And then after that tree had kind of gone, he actually had people coming back saying, do you have any more firewood that I can use, I can buy from you? So it kind of all started from there with the firewood industry, and that was 40 years ago. And then obviously as I was growing up, I was always growing up alongside Dad working. At summer holidays, Mum would kind of ship us off to go and work with Dad, to go and help out in the business. School, I was very academic.
What was your favourite stuff at school? I'm always intrigued to this.
I ended up doing biology, maths, chemistry. Ooh. So yeah, it was kind of sciences and maths that I really enjoyed.
You could have helped me with that, because I was terrible at science.
So Dad always jokes that he's got no GCSEs or anything, or O-levels in those times, apart from maths.
Yeah.
But yeah, I was quite academic. My college wasn't really a college that kind of saw anyone not going to uni. Everyone was kind of pushed into university. Yeah. We even had classes on writing our university applications, all those kind of things. So it wasn't really the done thing not to go to university. So I kind of got pushed into university.
Did they ever offer any sort of vocational skills-based stuff that you could go in?
There was kind of, in my area, there was two kind of colleges. One was academic side of things, and one was mainly like agricultural.
Okay.
So you kind of had to decide which way to go, and because I was academic at the time, and Mum wanted me to also explore other options rather than just go straight into the firewood, because it was what I was used to, what I was kind of comfortable with. So I went to the academic college, and then kind of got pushed into university. Had I had more of a choice, I think I would have considered it a bit more. But I ended up going there, did biochemistry. came out and there weren't many jobs available in the biochemistry, or they weren't very well paid. So I ended up going into a startup company which was doing marketing for veterinary practices.
Okay.
So I was there for just under a year. It was a small office. I enjoyed the work, but I was just not really enjoying being in the office the whole time. So I then moved and tried a different office, which was a big multinational company, completely different.
Too corporate.
Yeah, I still didn't enjoy the office side of things.
Yeah.
I wanted to be outside. I didn't want to kind of go to work in the dark, leave in the dark. And the hours kind of were racking up.
It's a bit like us.
The hours were racking up as well. And I sat there thinking, why am I doing this when I could be actually putting these hours into working in the family business and getting much more out of it?
Was it ever suggested to you before it got this far to go into the family business, or was it always let you find yourself first?
Yeah, I'd always wanted to go into the family business, but I think Mum was kind of a bit worried because at the time that I was kind of considering it, there was a lot in the press about banning fireplaces and banning the use of firewood. So I think Mum kind of wanted me to have a bit of a backup and also make sure that that was what I wanted to do, and I wasn't just going into it because it's the safety net. So I did one was a sales job and one was a marketing job, which then actually really helped when I came into the family business because I could do those sides of things as well, whereas no one in the business actually had been trained in that kind of thing. So when I came in, it was also introducing the social media side of things, introducing a new website, and just kind of taking it that bit further and kind of marketing it a bit more. So I then joined the company full time 4.5 years ago now. It's absolutely flown by. But I tend to
everything has since COVID.
It's crazy, isn't it? Well, that was the thing. I joined the company and then we were straight into COVID.
How did that affect what you did?
It kind of made it go crazy busy, I think, because everyone was stuck at home, everyone was working from home.
Log burners.
They all wanted, there's a massive increase in log burners, but also people being at home wanting to burn the logs as well. I remember it was just before Christmas, we went back into a kind of semi-lockdown where everyone had to have Christmas by themselves and we're no longer allowed to have Christmas together. And we suddenly had people coming in being like, I've got no food for Christmas, I've got no logs for Christmas. And that weekend before Christmas was absolutely chaotic, where people were expecting to go elsewhere, but had to stay at home. So COVID kind of really stepped it up. But also in terms of my personal kind of job as well, it kind of changed it a bit, because I ended up, one of the guys kind of turned around and was like, I don't feel comfortable coming in because it got told that we were going into a lockdown, only essential businesses, at which point we'd been deemed an essential business. But some of the guys were a bit like, I don't know, it is essential. So there was a guy who didn't want to come to work because he was worried about what might happen if he did. So it was just before my 25th birthday, I think it was. So Dad had to ring up the insurance company, get the age lowered on the insurance, and I ended up going out delivering, which was kind of a new thing to me. But it was actually the best time to go out because the roads were so quiet.
Nice time to drive.
Oh yeah, it was lovely.
Not like today.
No, now you're trying to reverse into someone's drive and you've got people beeping at you and irritated that there's a bit of a hold up. So yeah, I came into the business 4.5 years ago, and I do all the kindling making, do about 7,000 bags of kindling a year. I do bagging up in the nets, do marketing, serving customers, do a bit of everything really.
What's your favourite bit that you do there?
I do quite like doing the kindling machine.
Yeah.
Like,
is that the one where you're literally...
With the chute and then the orange net you might have seen,
I was watching that.
Yeah, I can literally go up there.
You have some good soundtracks, you see. I like some of the dance tunes that you've got going on to the...
Yeah. That's just the trending tracks, I think, which TikTok kind of push. But yeah, no, I can go up there, put a podcast on, can be kind of in my own little world.
So when you come into a family business, because this was a family business, it's always, I don't know about your situation, but I found it very difficult initially to come in and put my own stamp on the business, because everything's been done a certain way for a certain length of time, and I was very much of the social media, new website, brand, and obviously my dad, who was the original founder, wasn't too fun on social media. It was just, it's a load of rubbish. You don't need it. Why would you need it? And they couldn't get that. Did you find it difficult to persuade people in the family to sort of move them with you? And have you seen, because one thing I always push on here, and people always go, you bang on about social media, but it trebled the size of this business.
Yeah, it's amazing what it does.
And even me being able to find what you did was because of
social media.
So, did it improve what you did? Did it help? How did the business grow from there? Or
so it was actually, I came in, Dad was very kind of open to new ideas, and because he's always been by himself and he was never really that tech savvy. So I started up a company, social media, which was more of a kind of a bit of an education piece around kind of like how to burn your logs, which logs you want, kind of things like that. Because I think a lot of the firewood, it's actually, there's more to it than just putting the wood in the fireplace and just lighting it. So it's a bit of an educational piece, as well as helping people understand, like, if we're running low on stock or if there's an offer going on. I think there's more of an awareness as well, whereas Dad never kind of approached that. He had a leaflet which he sent out once a year, but there was no instant access to anything else.
Do you take orders on the website now?
No, we did try that, but it's a bit complicated because you have to match certain people together, and it was very complicated for the web guys to do. So it's all done through phone order. So we have a couple of ladies in the office. But there was, social media was one thing that I implemented, but it was also kind of, people keep saying how tidy the yard looks now, because I've got Dad to build these like massive log stores to put in kind of like nets and stuff. So
when you've been doing something for so long, and this was the same here, we used to be in an old office, just up the road and to the left up there. And I never, when I first came into the business, even thought about how that sort of looks to people from the outside. You have a customer come and you think, oh, that was a really good meeting. But you don't realise they've gone away and gone, oh, how shabby was that office? And it wasn't until I've built this that I realised, even as something as simple as you tidying all the logs and people noticing that, it looks better.
I think also when you haven't come in fully new and you've grown up alongside the business, it's very difficult to come in and think, oh, that doesn't look like as nice as it could be. It was just something we did to keep the rain off it, really. And then people were mentioning about how nice and tidy it was, so that was kind of a funny thing.
So it stayed like that.
Yeah,
that's good. I mean, one thing I quite liked about your socials as well was I watched the videos on weight and volume.
Yes.
And obviously, like how to set up the logs inside the log burners and stuff like that with the TP style stuff like that. So, I mean, what other stuff is sort of unique about your job, or a bit quirky or obscure, that people that are listening or watching wouldn't really know about, or what can you sort of teach somebody now about?
So I started up my personal social media it was only a couple of years ago, really, for TikTok, and then Instagram was literally November. That was when I started posting properly, and it took off.
So did you start on TikTok first?
And I grew really quickly. And then it kind of just plateaued, and everyone was like, oh, so Instagram's the difficult social media to grow on, and I heard all that. And then I put up a reel on Instagram, and in a week I had like 20,000 followers, and I was just like, oh, where did that come from? And now my TikTok, Instagram following is kind of the same. But what does push it quite well is all the controversy between, like, for example, you saying about buying in weight versus volume.
The clickbait.
A lot of my following is American, and they're like, oh, no one would ever buy it in weight. You must be an idiot to buy it in weight.
They love a good argument across the pond, don't they?
And it's literally a question that I've put up there because I always think the best things to kind of do a reel on or make awareness of are the things that people are asking you. And we get quite often comments about how much do your logs weigh, or how much can I buy a ton of logs for? So it's kind of a bit of a kind of result of what we've been asked. But I think the Americans are just, they all start arguing.
They love wood as well, though, over there.
They do. And so the kindling sticks, because they're 6 inches and they're really small.
In America, everything's big, though, isn't it?
And they were like, they don't have that. So they were like, why would anyone ever light their fire with these? But it's great because it causes an argument, and the algorithm absolutely loves it.
Ladies and gents, just a quick one to say a huge thank you to our new headline sponsor, CT1, the best sealants on the market, voted for by the British public. Not only that, it's made in Britain as well. So go and support a product and a brand that is made in the UK. But I just want to say to you, they've got a brand new product out, which is the BT1. It's a combination sealant and adhesive like the popular CT1, but it's perfect for keeping a hygienic environment. And it's designed to completely stop the growth of bacteria, microbes, and fungus. And not only that, This stuff is strong. Now, it's going to be available at Travis Perkins, Wickes, Jewson's, and pretty much everywhere else, so there's no excuse not to go and give it a go. So we're really happy to be partnering with CT1.
So how long have you been doing the socials, did you say?
So it's only a couple of years.
Yeah. Because I've found as well, and recently, these guys will tell you, is on the show, we've had some people that have been on socials for ages, and yeah, okay, they've got a decent following, but the people that have really sort of flown in the past 2, maybe 3 years are the ones that started during COVID or just after.
Yeah.
And they were originally on TikTok. And then I think what happened was there was that big shift from Instagram where they were like, hold on a minute, we're getting absolutely gobbled up here. And then the algorithms became very similar for a short period of time.
Yeah.
So obviously if you were posting something on TikTok and it was, you knew that you could transfer it across to Instagram.
Yeah, I've had a couple of companies that ask me as well, like, how have you grown on Instagram? They were like, we understand TikTok, but
See,
Instagram,
I'm the opposite.
It's weird, isn't it?
Because I initially started on Instagram.
Yeah.
TikTok, I was like, it just I don't know why. I always sort of looked down my nose at it and thought, it's for kids. It's kids dancing and doing.
Do you know what? I held off
stuff.
of it for about a good year and a half, and I wish I'd started it earlier.
I did.
Yeah.
And then weirdly, I've only just started my own personal brand one, which is actually, like, the views on it are great. It's just the followers aren't taking off as quick.
No.
But I do think that has a really good place now, TikTok, because it's just, you have to find who your audience is on there. Once you do, you see good results on it.
I think with Instagram, it's kind of mainly focusing on the reel side of things rather than just putting up a post, because the reel just goes to everyone, whereas the post will literally just go to your followers first.
Yeah.
So yeah, it is interesting, kind of different ways.
So what other bits are there to forestry?
So it's kind of mainly in the actual forest. So we kind of take the wood once it's cut down into like long lengths, and then we process it into the smaller logs.
Yeah.
Whereas you could be in the forest on a harvester actually cutting the trees down themselves into the correct length, and then
Never
extracting
thought about having a hand at that?
I have done, but I'm kind of a bit loyal to the family business.
Sorry, Dad, I'm off. Off where? I'm going to go and chop these trees down now.
Yeah, exactly. I'll bring them to you.
Yeah. I mean, I always find it fascinating talking to people like yourself, because biochemical engineering ended up in...
It was biochemistry, so it was all the biological processes in the body, basically.
Yeah.
So completely different. Yeah.
And then going into the veterinary stuff?
It was, so marketing and like towards veterinary practices, and then sales in a big kind of multinational company.
Always makes the mind boggle, doesn't it, when you listen to stories about stuff like that. I mean, what other questions do you think I can ask, Jack?
They are going to eventually stop people buying the...
I think they're changing the type of wood, aren't they?
So there's a lot of kind of things about it. 2021, I think it was, they brought in new legislation on the moisture of wood. So now all has to be below 20%. We have regular checks from Woodshaw, and they come and check, like they literally come and test your wood and put it in a big furnace and burn it off and check how much moisture is coming out and all the particles and...
They go on about global warming, but they'll come and test it and then burn a load and check it.
Yeah.
It doesn't really sound very...
And they just check, like, basically that the customer knows they're buying wood which is ready for use. If you can sell wood over 20% moisture, but you have to do it, I think it's over 2 cubic meters, and you just like have to provide a leaflet saying that it's not ready for use and that they have to store it and then test it themselves.
So here's a question then. What's the best type of wood to use for you?
See, this is a very difficult question. So we only supply hardwood. Some people will do softwood and hardwood. Personally, I think it's a mixture of ash and beech.
Yeah.
The birch burns quite quickly.
Which is the most expensive?
For us to buy, it would be oak or beech.
Yeah.
But yeah, we sell it all at the same price.
Okay.
So we don't make as much on the beech or the oak.
Any reason for that, or you just think keep the price the same?
So I know this goes against my Instagram.
Yeah.
So in the whole weight versus volume, when you're buying it, you tend to buy it in, as in like wholesale, you tend to buy on weight.
Weight.
Yeah. And the beech is a lot heavier and the oak's a lot heavier. I mean, most people are just happy with whatever you give them. Some customers will kind of specify, I want to have oak because I want a slow burner. I want birch because I want it to burn quickly. It kind of depends on their setup at home.
I'm going to have to ask you, because I'm going to get a log burner. When I extend the house, I'm going to get myself a log burner. So I'm always intrigued.
Yeah. No, you'll have to do that quickly though, because I know London, you're not allowed to put it in any new wood burners into new builds or into renovations anymore.
Ooh, get mine in.
Yeah.
It's with planners actually, or my
you'll be
plans. So, fingers crossed. You watch, I'll probably no, they've all been banned. I'll be like, oh, come on.
Yeah, it's one of those things which are kind of, it wouldn't surprise us if it happens, but yeah, for now we're still probably with it.
The thing is, the majority of homes are gas powered.
Yeah.
So if you were going to try and sort of reduce anything, I know they've tried to with ground source heat pumps and stuff like that, but certain places don't have the size or the capacity to put those in. So you have to look at alternative fuels to power the home.
I also don't think it's good us keep focusing on one source of energy because it's not sustainable. Like you can't just focus on one source and expect everything to be okay. Like we all go to electric. I know some countries have had power outages already because they can't deal with it.
I had a power cut last night. Literally had a power cut last night.
Yeah.
But I feel that there's better solutions in every home, or every new block of flats should have solar on the roof.
Yeah.
And I know in Australia, where my dad lives, he has these ginormous water butts that run down the side of the house. And that's all his water for showers.
We should definitely have that here. We have enough rain.
Well, this is where, you know how much rain we've had. Probably 2 months from now, there's a hose pipe ban.
Yeah, exactly.
And you'll think we've had the wettest winter that I can honestly remember.
Yeah.
And you just think, if you had solar on the roof, you put the lithium batteries on the side of the house as well to power it if there's ever a blackout, or in times where there's a peak amount of energy usage. Like all of these solutions, you wouldn't even need to sort of target something specific like log burners.
No. We do still have people who are fully sufficient on wood burners as well. Even their ovens and Arga, so they don't have any source of gas.
Yeah.
So it would be kind of
defeating the object.
It would be very difficult for them to then transition. I mean, I don't even know they get supply because they're really in the woods, like out in the sticks.
No pun intended. I just some of that stuff where they try and bring it in, I don't think because some people are oil LPG and stuff like that in the middle of nowhere. So God knows what they do with some of those houses. I mean, what does the future hold then for you? I mean, regards like social media, or what you're doing with, what would you like to do with the business? Is there anything that you'd like to do different or pursue in the future?
I think we've got the business at a good place now. We're kind of at maximum capacity.
Yeah.
Had to bring our delivery area in slightly. We kind of strive on service, really. That's the main thing that we try and do, and actually make sure that the wood we're sending out is the best quality it could be. Don't send it out wet or anything.
Do you get any sort of competition? Because I remember at one point you go into a petrol station and they'd have logs there and garden centres and stuff like that. Are you supplying them, or are you?
No, we've got one wholesaler, but other than that, we're purely to domestic users or pubs. A lot of pubs and restaurants use that, but it's the whole moisture content laws came in to try and stop the petrol stations from storing it outside and getting wet.
Yeah.
So I don't think many petrol stations actually do sell it anymore, and garden centres still do, but they have to store them inside now. They're not allowed to store it outside. But it tends to be a bit more pricey in the garden centres than we sell it for.
Okay.
But yeah.
Yeah. So anything else then that you fancy doing, or trying to go into, or diversifying for the family business? I mean, have you ever thought about yourself actually making some tables with some of the wood and stuff like that?
We've discussed it, me and Dad, but we don't have the right tools for it, so it would kind of be, we'd have to go into doing it all. I think people now, especially down our area, are so particular on everything. Like we get people saying, my logs have dust on them, or they're not all the same shape and all the same size.
Your logs have dust on them?
Yeah. So I think...
I had to look at it and I was like, dust.
Yeah.
These logs have dust.
It's crazy, like the things that you get.
What's the weirdest thing somebody said to you?
I mean, the dust one is, someone did ask us, could we brush every log off before we send it to them? And we're like, they come in a load of about...
Oh, I've seen them.
Yeah, about 350 logs. And we're like, no.
Just with a little...
Yeah. So, no, it is quite strange what people kind of expect. And they want them to be, every log to be the same size, the same shape. No little bits in there, but we're actually
but
like...
you're just burning them.
Yeah. And that we're like, the little bits are actually free kindling. You're not having to pay for that. And it's cheaper to have it like that. But no.
And it starts the fire quicker.
Yeah, exactly. And it gets the heat up. if anyone comes to us saying they're struggling with it, we'll say, oh, have some small bits, because that's how you're going to get it up. But there's that. And also something that really irritates me is, because I'm a female, a lot of people come in and say they're struggling, mainly men. They're struggling.
But they don't want to listen to what you have to say.
They don't want to listen to me. Whereas the women, and I did actually have a guy the other day, and he was like, I don't know anything about fires. And I was like, you are my perfect customer. You're coming, you're asking me for help. You're actually listening to what I have to say to you. And I don't know, yeah, it's just some people don't listen.
This is, again, another reason why I love the social media kind of side of things is I feel like if people were to actually watch you and just watch what you're doing on the videos, there wouldn't be any of that.
No.
Wouldn't be any of it, because I obviously for the show I sit and I go through stuff and I look at different bits, and even I'm sat there going, well, I didn't know that.
Yeah.
Or actually, that's quite a good way of doing that, because you think, this is no disrespect to us men, but every man's like, I can start a fire, I can make a barbecue, I can do this. When actually, most of us probably. It
was really funny, actually. My boyfriend's half Spanish, and we went to Spain, and it was all his male friends. And we had a barbecue, and the barbecue kind of started to go out, and they're trying to relight it. There was like 5 of them gathered round. And Johnny was like, oh, just let her do it. And I went over there, just like blew it a bit, rearranged everything. And they were like, how do you do that? It's purely knowing that it needs air rather than smothering. But yeah, a lot of men won't accept
the typical man thing where you just go, oh, there's a petrol canister over there, I'll just pour a bit of that on and set yourself on fire.
Yeah.
Are you wasting time? I think that some of you probably are, and I have a solution for you. Nobody wants to do any type of admin. Now, I have a solution for you, and it is called Tradify. It's a fully automated job scheduling, invoicing, and quoting all in one place. Now, that software is going to save you 12 hours a week, and all by using a simple software solution. Now, you can try it for 2 weeks, absolutely free, no cards needed, and you'll even get support in person from Tradify themselves. Now, when you're done, you can always come back to me and thank me, but just enjoy the extra 12 hours that you're going to gain from just using the software.
So, no, it is interesting how I get kind of treated as a female. And also my mum and another couple of ladies are in the office, and if anyone ever phones up and speaks to one of them, they'll come in and be like, oh, you must be so-and-so. I'm like, no, there's more females than just one working here.
I never understand this about trades, and this is another good reason for having you on, is we do like to push on the show like women in trades, because I feel like there should be more, the stigma should over time disappear as we get more ladies into trades. We have a few come on, don't we? And we've had some where they've had really good experiences and they've never experienced anything like that from us guys, and then some where, you know, but it's always good to have people on to say, look, you know, if you're going to go and order some wood, does it matter whether it's from
exactly
a lady, from a man, from a dog or a child or whatever, as long as it's what you need, it doesn't, it shouldn't matter.
I think the main thing that puts people off is like heavy lifting in trades, but there's always someone who will be there to help you.
Well, that thing you should just say, oh, come on, you load it on and I'll sort it.
There's so many things now that you can do to alleviate having to carry heavy things, like barrow sacks and all sorts.
I'll be honest, I probably couldn't carry half the stuff either. Do you know what I mean? So I never understand that, but I always think it's really good to speak to ladies doing trades, and especially ones that are doing something slightly obscure. So I mean, what would you say then? We'll take this back to the female side. What would you say to girls or to people going to study biochem or whatever it is? Like, what would you say to them if they're thinking, oh, I don't want to be stuck behind a desk?
I do think that if you've got a slight inkling about being out on a trade or doing something slightly different or something which is not seen as typical women's job, I do think just go out and see if you can shadow someone or get some experience. Just check, see what it entails fully and whether you like it, whether you enjoy it.
And what would they search for online if they wanted to find similar stuff to what you do?
So for us, it's firewood merchant, firewood industry, that kind of thing.
Do you get many girls apply to do stuff with you, or have you tried to actively?
I don't think we've had any.
Haven't you?
No. I mean, we don't have a very high turnover of staff anyway.
It's a bit like that here. Once people come here, they're lifers.
It tends to be more, we have a couple of Saturday boys, and that tends to be more of a turnover because they then go off to uni.
Yeah.
But yeah, we don't ever tend to get any young females wanting to help out. No, it's interesting. There was a man in the other day with his daughter, actually. She must have been about 6, 7, 8. She was still quite young, but it was amazing just from that age, still her view on it. She goes to her dad. I overheard her saying, "Dad, that's amazing. There's a girl working here. She's driving the big machines." And I was like, "You're so young and you still got that kind of opinion on it."
Yeah. I feel that sometimes it's partly the fault of the parents. I know obviously you can't sit there and tell your kids that they can do absolutely everything. Yeah. And it's nice to be able to pretend that you can. But I still feel like, you know, even my daughter, if she said to me, you know, because my son loves like diggers and like tractors and Massey Ferguson and all that sort of JCB, loves all that sort of stuff. But if she was into that, I'd never say, "Oh, you don't play with that because you're a girl." I'd be like,
yeah, I think we still refer to kind of jobs as postman, fireman, like policeman, whereas I mean, our post lady she's a woman. But I think, there's still a lot of, especially with kind of trades or more kind of
I think it'd be quite hard though, to post person.
A post person.
I can't say that. Not with my teeth.
But yeah, it is all very still male kind of dominated.
Yeah, I agree.
And I think that's kind of doesn't really help.
Why did you start the social media?
Well, yeah, because to be fair, if you
it's kind of an accident, really.
Did somebody say to you should stick this stuff on?
One of my friends was kind of asking, you know, when you go out to the pub and you all know what your friends do, but you never know the kind of ins and outs of what they actually do. One of my friends was asking about it, and I'd filmed, I don't even know why I'd filmed something. I think I'd filmed the machine.
Is that the one where the saw comes down?
Yeah, the huge one. And they were like, "Oh my God, that's amazing." I didn't know how that kind of was started. And then I thought, actually, I really enjoy watching things like inside the factory, how things are made. And it was something that I literally just put online, and it kind of just blew up. And I was like, okay, there's a bit of people kind of want this. There's a bit of a demand for it. And then the people who supplied the machine were like, "Can we actually use your videos for it?" And I obviously said yes.
That's pretty cool,
yeah, and it kind of just escalated from there, and kind of I realised there was a bit of demand. But it's really strange how the same videos do really well. Yeah. There's the odd a different one which will take off, but it's mainly kindling. I could do loads of kindling ones and they'll take off. It's weird.
Because it's good that you touched on that, because that's another good thing that people don't realise, especially when they're first starting their social media journey, is brands like myself find people that are using the product that love the brand, and then actually that makes it really easy for us if we go, well, we want some ambassadors to go and work with. And people don't realise that's how somebody then goes, "Well, can I send you some products?" And they're all free.
Yeah.
You know, and that's how it sort of snowballs out. Your social media becomes bigger because people...
Yeah, it's exposure.
You know, I don't know how big that company is that does the machines for you, but for them, it's so hard to find people that will even talk about using the machine.
Yeah, that's the problem. And it's actually now escalated that we're going to, well, I'm actually away for it, but we always go to a forestry show every other September, and Dad's actually been asked to work the machine through that company because they thought for themselves it's actually better to have a customer talking to other potential customers than them trying to just sell it. And I mean, people come and visit us when they're interested in buying the machine itself, they come and actually visit us, see it working. We get left to talk to them, so they actually get a kind of true view and don't feel like it's just a
being
sales
sold
pitch.
to you.
Yeah.
That's why we started using. You know, I hate the term, but like influencers, because all the people that actually sell our product for us, the influencers, they've been using the product for years.
Yeah.
So they know things about the product that even I, who design half of them, you know, even I don't pick up on.
Yeah.
But when somebody that's using it every day confirms this is great and I use it for this, and this, other people go, "Oh, okay then.
I can use it too, yeah."
Whereas I could go, "This is whatever," and they go, "I'm not taking anything." Don't you sell me anything.
No, exactly. So I think a customer point of view is so much more valuable than the sales pitch.
Yeah. Going back to TikTok, actually, one thing that I do prefer sometimes on there is you can find stuff that is obscure, like Dr. Pimple Popper. The amount of like those videos that I've watched, just you know, pushing on something, and you suddenly go, hold on a minute, I spent an hour watching somebody's face
time
getting
gone.
pressed and blackheads coming out and stuff like that, and you get into that sort of...
No, when I first got it, my boyfriend kept saying, can you get off the phone? Because, you know, when that first video kind of goes viral and you keep checking back and you're like, oh my God, in the last 2 minutes, it's got 10,000 more views or whatever. And he was like, just get off the phone, just leave it alone.
My wife called herself an Instagram widow at one point. She was like, all you ever do is sit on Instagram. But you get, it is addictive.
It is, yeah. Yeah, and I think the apps know that you're sat on there and they like the fact that you're sat on there, so they push your content more.
Well, they can sell to you or get your data or what you're looking at or whatever it is and sell that to somebody else.
Definitely.
So what we tend to do as well when we get to this point is we get everybody to give us almost like a Jerry Springer style final thought, where if you were talking to your younger self, you could give your younger self some advice, or if you want to say to other girls to sort of empower them to come and get involved in a trade, you shamelessly plug yourself and say, this is my social media handle, whatever it is. You know, just you've got a few minutes just to sort of give us something that you think would be important for anybody that's listening. I definitely think anyone who's kind of questioning whether they should go into a trade, any trade, I definitely think they should go and try that. And if you're at school, use your work experience if you've got that, or summer holidays to go out and shadow someone, just go and work out whether that's actually something that you would be interested in doing, whether you enjoy it. There's definitely more opportunities than just going to university and going into an office job. Do you guys offer any work experience if somebody was to...
We don't have work experience, no. We're quite a small...
It might be a bit difficult as well when you've got heavy machinery and,
it's that, and
somebody
also,
comes in, chops a hand off or something like that.
Yeah, and also work experience always tends to be through the summer, which is our kind of really quiet months. So we tend to have a kind of bare minimum people actually employed, and then everyone else is kind of self-employed.
That was my question. Just jogged my memory. So, you know, obviously you said you've got the agricultural college. What were sort of the options if you were to go there, or what do they actually teach for you to do?
So it was kind of, there was farming, there was animal management, forestry. I think they kind of dabble in, what else? Plumbing, hairdressing. I think it was that kind of thing as well. So yeah, there's kind of a range of different aspects there. But I think there's quite a few about, but they're just never really talked about as much.
We originally, on the first ever episode, we had Joe, who runs the brewery where we get the beers from. And they used to be dairy farmers.
Oh, yeah.
And she said, so a similar sort of story was, she knew that it was time to stop making milk when the price of that became more expensive than the milk. And she said, we just got straight out there. So obviously sold all the cows and all the equipment and machinery and stuff like that, and then reinvested it and started a brewery. Yeah,
I think so many people have diversified, like wedding venues, firewood.
Are you still on
office.
What's classed as a farm? Or
yeah, we're still on the farm. So it's my grandparents' farm. So we're still fully based out of there.
So, but yeah, thank you very much for struggling to get past the M25 today to come up and spend some time with us. It's been really nice to have you on.
Thank you for having me.
No problem. Thank you very much.
Thank you.